It's time to demolish this. I live on an old farm in the English countryside where I've been renovating a barn to use as an art studio. The building is an old stable and cowshed made out of bricks. I transformed the derelict barn into a useful space and moved in my furniture and art materials. I've been working on my creative projects in there for a few months now, and I really love it. Next to this brick barn, there are some old tin sheds which have been falling down for years. We had a big storm recently and it finally collapsed. This is how the shed is looking at the moment. It used to have a roof across the top that's now collapsed and it's kind of flopping down over there. All these bits have fallen off the side. It's just a mess. So yeah, it's time to demolish this. Some people might wonder why this has never really been shown on any of my videos before. The reason is that this barn is kind of ugly and honestly I didn't really want to show it too much, but I'm going to show it now because I want the record of me taking it down, and then hopefully soon there will be something in its place that will be a lot more attractive and useful. I started by removing the loose pieces and bits that had already fallen off. I actually love this kind of activity. The combination of being outside, using my body and problem solving are so satisfying and absorbing. I really enjoy it. Okay, I'm going to wear my old climbing helmet just for safety. So this is how far I've got after one morning. I'm gonna stop now and have a go another day. Maybe if I'm lucky, in the meantime, the rest of it will fall down. These panels were horribly heavy to move. They seemed to be corrugated metal with a coating on top, which was disintegrating. I imagine they were painted with a roofing material at some point. I guess these were just the materials they had and could afford to use to build these sheds. I actually found some paintings of derelict tin sheds in the same style and thought it was interesting how similar they look to ours. Even the patching up and repairs look the same. Once I'd removed the roof and debris from outside, I dismantled the partition wall, which was a tangle of wood, wire, and metal from years of repairs and different uses. So this barn has obviously been mended a lot of times, and at some point it was just being mended with old bits of wood from around the farm. So there's actually like some quite interesting wooden things here. They look really old, like part of an old fence or a gate or something. On the farm, they obviously had a lot of things that were just being thrown out, like old gates and fences when they got replaced, old doors and things. And instead of like getting rid of them, which is kind of an effort, I guess they just use them to patch things up like this. So who knows, but these things might have been knocking around the farm for 100 years or more. So in here, inside this barn next door to the one that's fallen down, there is this really nice like patchwork wooden wall made out of old planks and bits of wood, like even some old doors and things like that. And I really like this. So I thought I might try and mend the walls of this one on this side in this way, like using scraps of wood. So here there's an old piece of a cart, I think, that the horse would pull. Up here there's a sort of old barn door that's been put in there. So first I'm going to get all this down and then try and put up some new bits of wood. I stripped back anything that was rotten or falling off so I could start fresh and make the repair sturdy. The thing I find really interesting about a place like this farm is that if you were working on the farm in the past, you would have had a lot of hard work to do, hard physical work, all day, every day. You wouldn't have needed extra physical work to do. In fact, anything that you didn't have to do, you wouldn't choose to. And that would include stuff like getting rid of rubbish or what you would not be needing anymore, stuff that's broken, things you've discarded. Like today, we obviously, we want our houses to look neat, so we get rid of those things by putting in extra effort to take them away off-site to a tip or a dump, or just dispose of them in some way. But on a farm like this, the last thing you'd want after a hard day is even more hard work to do stuff that doesn't achieve anything for you. And also, on the other hand, when you've got so much empty space, like fields and little hedgerows and scrubby areas where nobody goes, you can just put things in there. Or when you've got old buildings like these barns that need mending, you just patch them up with some old bits of broken stuff. And I just think that that will mean that almost everything that was ever used on this farm is probably still here in some form. Okay, some things would have been burned and rotted, but it's possible that all of the bits of wood around here used to be some fence or door or piece of furniture. And I just find that very intriguing. started filling the gaps with wood and worked my way up the first half of the wall. All this dirt on the floor in this barn will have been from chickens, animals, maybe cows at one point. So it's actually like a mix of straw and animal waste. So it would be really good fertilizer. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to do with the space out there where the other barn used to be. I'm really hoping I can make it into a vegetable growing place. It's quite a lot of work to get to that point, but it is January, so I should have time. I'm just going to sweep all of this dirt straight out into the area that I want to be the veg patch, so that I can then mix that into the soil and it will be like a fertilizer before I plant things. Also, it's quite nice, this brick floor I actually quite like, so maybe it will make this barn a bit more functional. I can put stuff in here, maybe my wood, could be my wood shed. To make things go a bit quicker, I started incorporating old doors and bigger pieces on the second half of the wall. Some bits were quite rotten, so I had to cut things down and patch them together. But I quite like the look of building them into the wall as a way of incorporating the history and story of the old farm into something useful. These pieces were actually the sides of the old hen house I removed from my studio barn at the start of the renovation. By reusing these old bits and pieces, I feel like I'm carrying on a tradition of thrifty and resourceful farmer building. I finished filling in the shed wall and started prepping the ground for growing vegetables. I've grown a few things since I moved here, some onions and leeks, but I only had a small space and it was quite overgrown with weeds and other plants. Ever since I came here, I've wanted to set up a proper vegetable plot. I had some small successes with tomatoes and strawberries, and I really want to expand what I'm growing and learn more about gardening. Hopefully this space will make a good garden with room for a wider variety of plants. I really want to try some new things that I haven't grown before, and now the studio renovation is done, I should have more time to tend to a garden. What I've done is I've made little brick paths, just laying the bricks on top of the ground so that I can walk between my rows of vegetables. I tried to make them wide enough that I can reach like the middle easily from each side to do weeding and things. Now I'm just digging in some straw. The ground was gritty and stony and quite compacted, so I added some old straw and tried to break it up a bit. So what I'm trying to do with this garden is like make a lot of layers. I read about it online that you can make layers of different materials like dry leaves and grass and separate them with cardboard, and then you leave that to like rot into a soil that you can grow things in. So I haven't got that much time. I mean, I've got a couple of months maybe. It probably won't rot completely, but I'm still going to have a go. I've also got this bag of sawdust left over from when I did the barn renovation. Okay, so the next thing is putting in loads of these like semi-rotted leaves that we collected in the autumn. And what's really good about these is that I can see there are already worms inside this, which is really what I want. I want the worms to go down and basically mix up all the layers, so like dig all of this nutrient dense material into the ground underneath here, which is kind of stony and gritty, just to like make a soil. It probably won't happen this year, it'll take maybe a year or two to get a nice good soil with nutrients for growing things in. So the idea is that these layers of cardboard will rot down. I've made sure that there's no sellotape or plastic stuck on them. And they should also, I think, like help the ground underneath start to warm up and make like a little protective place for the worms to do their job. So it might still look a bit scruffy, but I'm pretty pleased with my progress on the vegetable patch. I have to wait a while now to plant things, but hopefully when they start growing, it will look much better. I'm planning to grow climbing plants like beans up against the two walls, so I'll make a bit of a trellis there to support them. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a lovely week.